Welcome to Game News Radio with Brandon Carmody, right here on America's #1, the GNR Radio Network.
You're listening to Game News Radio. I'm Brandon Carmody. I'm joined here today by two guests. We have Jason Stewart, who is an actor, comedian, talk show host, and television personality, and Portland's own Belinda Carroll, who is also a comedian, writer, vocalist. Welcome to both Jason and Belinda.
Hey guys, how you doing?
So I decided when I found out that I was going to be interviewing Jason Stewart on Game News Radio, and I was doing my research, and I saw Belinda Carroll's name come up in the research, and I thought, wait a minute, that's too much of a quinky dink. And so I figured out that you two know each other, so that's the story I'm dying to hear. Jason, welcome to the show. Why don't
welcome.
You tell us
Belinda has actually slept in my office, in my house. So we know each other. So I think we know each other very well. I've seen her wake up in the morning. I've seen her in her jammies and her morning voice and everything.
It's very true.
So what I want to know is, tell me about Portland, Jason. So you've been to Portland. Did you meet Belinda in Portland? Let me hear the story from both of your perspective, if I may.
We were introduced by another radio personality and also comedian, a mutual friend. Do you want to say it, or should I?
Terry Joyce.
From Last Comic Standing, who's actually going to be on my show next week.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I'm doing a Girls of Comedy episode. And we were introduced by her, and we started talking on the phone, and I believe that you told me about headlining your gay pride there in town. I believe that's what happened.
Yeah, so it was my I have a pride show every year, and I've been doing it this is the 6th year. And so 3 years in, Terry got a hold of me, and she was like, "Hey, have you met Jason? I think you guys would get along really well." And I was like, "No, but I'd love to, because I love Jason, because I've seen him on several things and stuff." And so she made the introduction, and we just started talking, got along really, really well. And so he came up and did Pride, and we went to Boise, so we kind of did a mini tour and went to Boise, and I've been down to LA to visit him and whatever. So so we just kind of became comic friends.
Yes, and we became fast friends, and we were like it's like we've known each other our whole lives.
Yeah, it totally is.
That's exciting. So you know our sunny little Portland, Oregon, it sounds like, and you know the scene here a little bit.
Yeah, I really had. She took me around and introduced me to all sorts, and I really loved it. I have to say, it's just a beautiful town. I mean, I wish.
Yeah, we should totally have you back up here again.
Oh, I would love it. And what's really cool is that I almost wish we could put Portland in my backyard.
Just to be able to go outside and just be like, "Hi, Portland," and then be in LA.
Yeah, just to be able to. Well, I don't know. We have phones that don't disconnect to anything. We have phones that can take pictures. Why can't we have? I don't know. Why can't we have flying, cars or something, so I can get there when I want to see my friends? I just don't understand.
Oh, I know. I would love that, like some sort of Star Trek,
It seems like they're really behind. Who do we need to talk to?
I know. Where is my Jetsons shit, damn it?
So sort of a comedian question for you both. When you're on stage, and I'm a musician, so I know for myself when I'm on stage, I can definitely take the temperature or the barometer of the audience, so to speak. Are they hot? Are they cold? Are they feeling it? So it sounds like if you've both been around the country into different bits, are you aware of your audiences, and are there some vast differences between Northwest and Los Angeles and the further you go south? Are you aware of these differences when you're in different venues, and what's it like to play shows in different mediums like that?
Well, I don't know about you, but I remember, when Belinda and I were in Boise, we were doing an outdoor comedy show. We both looked at each other like, oh, man. We could look around and see there was going to be a focus problem. So we her and I just said to the guy who was the promoter, or probably just me, because I'm so pushy, but I said, hey, let's just put some tables and chairs here so people can sit down and watch the show. And we changed the whole physical participation of the show by putting, the dynamic, thank you. Words that sound like, I'll take the car, I'll take the curtain, what does my husband think? And that's basically what we did, is that we changed.
And we had that really nice butch girl that was like Jason was like, I think we were talking together. He's like, I think we need to move these tables in the middle. And you remember that one butch girl like jumped up and she was like, I'll do it, and she totally did it without even like a blink. She was just like picked up the tables and like moved them.
Oh, I love that. I forgot about that. It
was like the butchest moment ever. I loved it. It was so cute.
Yeah. So that you
go
into a room. You can go into a room and you can see what's going on, and you can sort of feel it. You can look at it, and you can tell it's everything from the way. There's two things. First is they have to be able to see us, and they have to be able to hear us. If those two things are impaired in some way, you're going to have a harder time in your show, because we're not singers. You can't just sort of listen from the background and go, "Oh, that's pretty." They have to hear us. And if they miss moments, if they miss a look on your face, it's a part of the bit, or a way of saying something, then the actual cadence of your voice sometimes gets the laugh. So you have to be able to assess that and see what's going on.
Yeah, I just did a film shoot actually.
Do you move? Do you both kind of move with it? Like if you feel like what you're doing may not be working, do you make a sudden swing in the other direction, or do you try and live it? I mean, are you virtual reality with what's happening in the moment, or are your acts pretty much preset and you're just kind of going through the beats?
Well, you have to be by the moment, because it depends on the audience, what the audience is into. Like, like with every comic, like you have your A material and your B material and all that stuff, and you also have like your dirty material and your clean material and all that stuff, and you have to be organized in your head to know exactly where you need to go. And then if you're going a direction and you're like, let's say you go into kind of blue material and then you realize the audience isn't into it, then you have to kind of go back the other direction and go, okay, now I need to go into smart material, and you have to be able to change like that. So you have to be able to do that for sure. And it just depends on the audience, and you really have to be in the room in the moment, completely paying attention.
Well, some people can't change, right? Some people, you book shows also, so some people just can't change. This is their thing. This is what they do. And some people are more entertainers, and they can flow with what's going on in the room.
Oh, sure. And I think you probably deal with that more than I do, because, like, you're in LA, so you have a lot of people that are veteran comics that have been comics for, like, 30 years, and so they have their thing. Whereas I think Portland's comedy is really young. Like, I'm one of the oldest people in Portland comedy, and I've only been doing it for 8 years. So in LA, I'd be a newbie. Yeah, in LA, I'd be a newbie. Here, I'm, like, one of the most senior comics in town. So I think any good comic that's worth his salt is able to shift with the room. I think that's part of the job, because your first job is to make I think that's part of being successful in the job. Unless you have, like, I think the difference is if you have, like, a super pull name recognition, like you were on SNL for a season, or whatever, and I'm not specifically calling out anybody in the industry at all. But, I mean, I'm just using examples of, like, you were on Love Boat or whatever.
Yeah, but also, even if you are big and famous, even if you are big and famous, after 10 minutes, they're going to go, oh, man, this is not really us.
Right. This is not really what we're doing. Yeah. So, and I think comedy is one of the more meritocracy professions in the industry. You know what I mean? Because you have to be funny.
That is a very,
very big word. If you're not funny, no one's going to come back and see you.
That's a very big word.
Well, and I've looked at your billing a little bit. So, Belinda, I've seen some of the shows that you have and who you're working with. Jason, are you typically a headliner? Is that a given?
Oh yeah.
Around
25 years.
So essentially, there's acts that are warming up that crowd. Like the audience is taking their drinks, they're getting a little bit more comfy, and they're basically setting the stage for you. Because I've seen that.
Sometimes
I open when I go on the road with Jason. I open for Jason. So, yeah.
But sometimes the opening act can be really dirty and be inappropriate for you.
Hey.
And that's not. And I take it that's not your stick.
No, because I don't want to do a whole dirty show. I want to talk about all sorts of things.
Right.
And once I always say, once you have sex with somebody, no one wants to hold your hand.
Right.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, in the Portland comedy scene, and I know Belinda has seen this, and I fell for this so many times I couldn't believe it. With the comedy club, I went in there for my first time, signed up on something, and then a week later I got a call like, hey, you've won 16 free tickets for you and your friends
Oh,
to come
Harvey's,
back
yeah.
to the park. And so I was like, oh my God, that's exciting. So I somehow came up with like 12 or 13 of them, and we'd go in, and I swear to God, we're trying to enjoy the free show, and there's a waitress in my face every 5 minutes, like, can I get you another drink? Can I get you another drink? And I'm like trying to look past her, like, I wanted to see the stage, like, so I kind of figured out that they're running the game down on you because I won the tickets. Like,
well, that's the way they make it.
Really?
That's the way they make their money. It's a bar with comedy, mostly.
Yeah, that's a very like common comedy club kind of business model. It's like the traditional comedy clubs that like started in the 80s and things like that. Like you go to an indie show, it's totally different. But like comedy clubs, the comedy is to sell booze. That's the only reason it exists. So like they give out tickets, and the only reason they give out tickets is because they're hoping that you don't order 5 drinks while you're there. You know what I mean? That's why they have to do your 2-drink minimum, because that's literally just how they pay the comics and how they base their money off of. Because they're not making the money off the ticket. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Who are some of your comedy inspirations? You know, just anyone that comes to mind. Seinfeld,
Jason Stewart. Aw. So for me as a younger comic, like I love all the gay comics that are now getting their just desserts now that they've been in the industry for a long time. Like Guy Branum is blowing up, and he's a very like amazing gay guy, and he's blowing up. And Jason's got some with Birth of a Nation and everything, which we'll get into in a second. And I love like Mark Maron. I love Margaret Cho, you know, and I just like edgy, truthful. Yeah. I like edgy, truthful comedy that makes people feel included and makes people feel like they're understood in the world when the world is so confusing. That's what I enjoy. So people that do that and do that very, very well are high on my list of people that I enjoy.
I have to say, the true artists. I mean, I think one of the first stand-up comics that really brought the art form for me to such a high level was Lily Tomlin.
Oh yeah.
It was about the characters. She sort of blended acting and stand-up together. And there's all different kinds of comedy. There's comedy that's storytelling. There's comedy where someone's funny looking or says funny things, or is props or music, or there's all different kinds of comedy, and I'm open to everything. My favorite kind of comedians and my biggest inspirations when I was younger was Don Rickles and Joan Rivers, because they were so interactive with the audience. It was so in the moment. There's nothing funnier than what's going on in the moment in the room. You can talk about yourself and all your stuff and all your things as much as you want, but I do believe that the funniest comedy to me is something that's happening. It's happening that second, and I'm very interested in that as an audience member.
And I'm very interested in that as a person, like as far as somebody taking, because comedy is such a visceral experience in that you're taking a moment that's happening right then, and then you're immediately processing it through our weird ass, you know, dolly comic brain, and then spitting it back out as something else. You know what I mean? So that's like such a fascinating thing to me, especially knowing that most comics can't pay attention for crap unless they're on stage, and then something otherworldly happens and they become so in the moment that they're able to process emotions immediately. And I think that on a neurological level is really fascinating to me. You know what I mean?
From an audience perspective,
I want to do a TV special called Accidentally on Purpose. And I know that expression has been said before, but that's the way I feel about that kind of comedy.
Yeah, but it's accidentally on purpose.
I did not enjoy in those Portland clubs that I was telling you about, all the ones that I first tried out as an audience member. I'm not a comedian member. I literally got taken in to enjoy the comedy. It was like that opening act was just pushing the envelope with the racial humor and a little bit of derogatory speak towards women. And then the next one, it was like, whoa, is it the drink, or are they starting to get uncomfortable here? And then by the time it was that quote-unquote, you know, headliner, it was like all racial humor and just things that and this was 10, 15 years ago. I don't know if they've dialed that back at all, or if, like Jason was saying earlier,
I think it's different comedians. It's different people doing different things. Comedy, I always think, is like food. You know, sometimes you like
some
it,
people
sometimes you don't. Some people love salty food. Some people love sweet foods. You know, everything.
Or some people like
little...
metal, and some people. I mean, it's the same with
Yeah.
music. Some people like the blues. I personally love soul and blues. Some people like metal. You know, and I personally hate metal. It gives me a headache. So I think comedy is much the same way. And I think knowing the room. This is if you are a non-comedian and you're going to a comedy show and you want to enjoy the comedy show and you want to enjoy live comedy, one of the things I would do is check out the place that you're going, because a lot of people go to comedy clubs without knowing who the comedian is and go, oh, it's comedy, then I'll enjoy it. But what you need to do is actually look at who's headlining and if you identify with who they are as people, because comedians are very individual and very individual about how they approach it. You know what I mean? It's like a musician, you know.
No, I want to ask you both, and hopefully this isn't off limits, but when you see a comedy legend, so I want to talk about Hannibal Buress for a moment. So just talking about the power of comedy, my understanding is that Hannibal Buress was talking about Bill Cosby in some of his routines, and that opened up a discussion, which then became a tidal wave of media coverage, and now, you know, criminal indictment for Bill Cosby. So from both of you, as comedians, does it surprise you or make you sad to see the fall of such an iconic television dad and comedian like Bill Cosby? What's your take on a situation like that?
Oh, God, who wants to go first? Oh, you go. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I'll go for. I have all sorts of opinions on this shit. I, as an '80s kid, like, it's devastating. I mean, because I grew up listening to my brother, whom I slept with, and all of his albums and stuff, and you know, watching the TV show. So I was a big Bill Cosby consumer and fan before any of this shit happened. What cracks me about the Hannibal Buress thing is that Hannibal was spot on, and yes, the power of comedy is immense. But the thing is that this whole blow up only happened in 2012, started happening, and the reality is he was doing this for 30 years. People knew about it. In 2005, he was disposed in a court appearance. The deposition was public. There's been newspaper stories. There's been everything regarding the Cosby thing. Nobody picked it up until, and I don't mean to get like super feminist on you guys, but like nobody picked it up until
let me give you some background though, because of your age. I think there are things you probably don't understand, because, and not to sound at all derogatory or, you know,
back in my day.
But it was there was a different sensibility about stuff like that. In the 80s, when his show was so popular, Bill Cosby was a known womanizer. And also he was a known womanizer. He was known for cheating on his wife. He had been caught. Several women had tried to extort money out of him, all sorts of things. So that was certainly something that was not a surprise to anybody in the comedy community at all, because it was very prevalent and people knew that. On the other hand, the drug thing was, you know, the culture of drugs in the 70s was so different than it is now. So not to make any excuses for him, because what he did is criminal. What he did is incredibly criminal. And he, I don't think people really knew exactly what he was doing or how he was doing it. And I think because he was such a big star, this is when we only had three networks. I think people didn't question him. People didn't question him.
Well, and the thing is, I was reading a thing about how people didn't question him at all. And I know the environment, as far as like he was a huge star. Like I was reading a thing. For example, like now a television show will get like a 2 million market share, and back then the Cosby Show had like 25 million market share every week, which is ridiculous. So of course they're going to do everything to protect their money. You know what I mean? But I just think that's a disgusting thing. So yeah.
Well, and also that kind of behavior. Forgive me, Brandon, but that kind of behavior with men was acceptable.
Yeah.
It's acceptable in our society through the ages. So it's a different sensibility. The women's movement had only started in the 70s. Yeah. And so it was a very, I remember my mom saying to me in the 70s when she got divorced from my dad, she said, you know, I wasn't even allowed to go into a bank and open up a checking account until
Oh
the
yeah, my
early
mom
70s.
too. My mom was born in 1936, and when she was
mine was in
19...
37. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So in 56 she had a baby, and then she was a single woman with a baby trying to function in the world, and it was impossible.
My
Like,
God.
she couldn't get a bank account, she couldn't buy a house, she couldn't rent a house, she couldn't she had to have a guy friend of hers that was married to her best friend come and sign her fucking lease for her. They had no relationship to each other except for he was her best friend's husband, and they had to come sign the lease for her. It's insane.
She's a woman.
Totally fucking insane.
Well, you watch any history, you know, you watch history and the way we've treated people in our history, just because someone is different. It's all about what I call white man privilege, but I call it white heterosexual Christian man privilege, to be more specific.
Yeah, it's very specific privilege.
But it is. It's the Trumpites. It's the Trump people.
Oh.
These people that have spent their whole lives having this privilege of a certain thing. It's certainly Bill Cosby is black, but because he became so famous and so successful, he was one of the people where race didn't really matter.
Well, and one of the comments, one of the Hollywood comments that I want to make here, and believe me, I'm not trying to have a whole Oprah on this because we have other topics, but when you see now that actor Corey Feldman is coming out in a very honest and very heartfelt way and talking about how there was a culture of sexual abuse against him and Corey Haim, starting as early as on the set of The Lost Boys, and there was a very organized structure of men.
Have you not read about this yet?
This is true. But he can't prove it, and he's not going to name names because it's past the statute of limitations. But I take him at his word that it was an organized structure of men that passed these young actors around and abused them, but they were at the top of their game, and we saw them on the silver screen. And so hearing about this 30 years later, it's kind of like the shock of that extra curtain being brought down, the same thing as Bill Cosby. Like, we would have never dreamed thinking about this when we went to the theaters to see, License to Drive or The Lost Boys, but that was going on, according to Corey Haim. And so it's kind of the same thing with Bill Cosby. I think that some of the comedy promoters, the people that were womanizers and into the drugs, they were supporting him and keeping that secret and perpetuating that culture,
Yeah.
Hopefully comedy is a clean game now, right?
Well, I don't think anything is a clean game. I think that if you look into any industry at all, whether it be big corporation or comedy or music or anything, there's a seedy underbelly to it for sure. I'm glad that Corey Feldman came out about that because of the fact that Corey Haim was so damaged and died of a drug overdose and everything. And I'm glad that is becoming, people are becoming more aware of sexual abuse in general. But I think it's always existed. I think we're just hearing about it more because of the internet.
Well, so we're not just hearing about it. People are standing up and fighting back.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. And so so I think that's all good. I just think that it's all coming to the surface, and we have to get through it. But I think that we'll be better for it as an industry once it happens. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Well, wrapping up the comedy segment, then I'm going to ask you both. I'll start with you, Jason. So tell me, has your life in the world of comedy been fulfilling, and are you treated in general by the industry and audiences the way that you want? Are you getting what you want out of the experience of being a comic?
Well, comedy to me is like fast, hot sex. Either fabulous or you're going, God, why did I do this? So I have been a comedian for 30-something years. I've been a headliner for 25-something years. And it's been a great art form for me to work on. I never really wanted to be a comedian. It never was a goal. It was always a goal to be an actor. But then I started doing it in the beginning because they said this is the way to be seen. And then I realized after a while that it was a craft, and I fell in love with it. And I fell in love with the idea of being able to say things that were on my mind, talk about my life, talk about, pop cultural things, and have this immediacy with an audience. And I traveled the whole country. I actually learned geography because of being a comedian.
Right.
So I had 3 or 4 times of headlining all over the country in major ways. And then around 2007, after I did my TV special, Making It to the Middle, I decided that I wanted to start pursuing my acting career in a bigger way. And that's what brought me to The Birth of a Nation this year. So I love comedy. I love that it was able to give me, where most actors were waiters, I was able to make a living. I was able to get a modicum of fame and success, and I was able to really make a dent in the world as a gay person, which is bigger than comedy and bigger than me. And I was able to express myself in a funny way about how I felt about being a gay man living in the 90s and the early 2000s in a way that now people don't even really think about it anymore in the same way. But I do have to say that openly gay headliners do not have the same privileges as straight people do. It's still a straight man privilege. The only good thing is that people of color have broken into the comedy clubs in a big way all over the country, so that doesn't matter. But it's only for men. It's not for women, and it's not for gay people. They don't have the same privilege of being hired, and the money is different, and the PR is different, and the way we're treated is different. It's not the same way. So it has regressed in that respect, because in the 90s and the early 2000s, being an openly gay comic was a bigger deal. Now it is not. We are one of the crowd to them, or we're the circus people where they have to get a specific audience. They don't. I still have people say to me, wanting to do a gay night or wanted to do a thing, and I don't want to do a gay night. I want to do, unless I'm doing a pride or a benefit or a specific show for a specific reason, my fans are all everything. I do a show once a month at the Purple Room in Palm Springs, and the next show is June 25th, and I do it once a month. And I realized by doing this show that the audiences were coming to see me and what I had to say. So we have, middle-aged gay men, tons of Jewish couples of all ages who bring their children, a smattering of young people who want to see something cool and hip and kitsch. A lot of black people who were fans of mine when I was on My Wife and Kids. People that were just fans from over the years, or people who've seen me in a film or television show or stand-up. So it was such an amazing wake-up call for me to say, oh, this is my venue. This is where I should be. I should be doing my show. And the show is called I'm Only Gay on the Weekends, which is sort of an involvement of what it's like to be an openly gay person. This show isn't just about that. It's a part of who I am, but it isn't everything. But I am proud of who I am, and I'm proud of the dent that I've been able to make in the comedy world and hopefully now in the acting world.
That's incredible.
And
Thank you.
Go ahead.
There you go, sweetheart.
Well, I was coming to Belinda. I just want to set it up really quick by saying how I met Belinda. So 5 years ago, in 2011, I was booked as a musician to play on the Pride stage at Portland's Pride Northwest. And when I get down there, and what is it? It's like 11 a.m. on a Sunday. So they strategically timed me to where this parade, 50,000 people are marching through the streets of Portland in a different part of Portland, and they put me on a stage when there's absolutely nobody there. But they introduced me to Belinda Carroll, who is going to be emceeing and setting it up for me. And so she goes up there, and she's incredibly funny, and introduces me to basically our sound man. Maybe one or two stragglers that are literally got down to the park early, like, oh, there's something going on over there. And so she's great. She's funny. She introduces me, and then I do my musical bit, again, for the sound man. So I want to thank you for that. I don't know if I ever thanked you, Belinda, but we had a fun little show entertaining the sound man.
Yeah, that was fun. But I think you got booked like before the parade ended, and so there was just nobody down there. Oh, it was just whatever. But right. It was a fun show. So what I wanted to say too is that I don't think we got into Birth of a Nation, but I'm very excited about it. Jason just did Sundance for it, and didn't you guys get picked up for the most money that anybody's ever been picked up for? Well,
Birth of the Nation, I'll tell you, do we have time? I'll tell you this story briefly. Around 4 or 5 years ago, I started auditioning for things that were in the Southeast, because there was a lot of tax breaks in New Orleans and Georgia and the South and North and South Carolina in New Mexico, all those areas. So I got this agent there, and I've been auditioning, putting myself on tape with my computer in my dining room. So my dining room, I have an incredible career in that room. I'm actually doing one this afternoon. And I put myself on tape. I was going to the Ventura Harbor Comedy Club one night with Jenny McNulty to do a show, and I got a call from my agent saying they wanted me to come in and read for this plantation owner. It was at 7 o'clock, and they wanted me to have the tape done and ready to be sent to them by noon the next day. I thought, oh, my God, I can't do this. And a plantation owner, and there's this big monologue I have to learn. And I thought, oh, God. So I called my assistant. I had an assistant at the time, and he helped me put it on tape. I sent it off and forgot about it. And a week later, I get a call. They want me to fly to Savannah, and they want me to meet the director. And I thought, oh, my God, this is crazy. So I went. I did the audition, thought I did well. He asked me to make an adjustment when I read. He said, this guy's funny. You can be funny with it. I thought, nightclub comic, 20 years, I can do that. 30 years. Did it, left, still didn't think I was going to get it. Next day I get home. I'm about to jump in the shower. My agent, my New Orleans agent's assistant calls me Megan, and she says, how's your day going? I said, well, it's going fine. And she says, well, it's about to get better. And I said, why? She said, you got a part. I said, what part? I thought it was something else. She said, the plantation owner. And I just burst into tears.
Yeah.
Because what happened is that Nate Parker, one man, saw me. Just like Oprah says, and I know it sounds corny, but he actually saw me as an artist, and he saw my work, and he let me do something. And it's changed the trajectory of my life. If the movie never came out, it gave me a certain bit of confidence. I've spent most of my life as an actor, people telling me that I was limited and that I could only do this. And my limitation of playing someone that's either a manager of something or a fussy gay, or even not even a gay guy anymore, because there's very few gay characters over 40. So it's usually some fusspot character or some annoying guy who's a manager of something and has no power. So he gave me this job, and I was able to have the most artistic, wonderful experience for 3 weeks working on this film in May of 2015. And then I got a call that it's going to Sundance. It won the Audience Award. It won the Grand Jury Award, which is by our peers, and it was sold to Fox Searchlight for $17.5 million. And then I went, before that he had a screening, a cast and crew screening of the film, so I went to see the film. And when I worked on this part of a plantation owner, a white heterosexual Christian plantation owner in 1831, when I worked on this part, I thought, it's 2015. Who am I? Who's this white, gay, liberal Jew, who is this person? Is a liberal Jew? It's gay. How am I going to play this part in 1831? So I thought, so I used my training. I played each scene. I had 7 scenes, and I played each scene where I'm helping out Armie Hammer. I'm an older plantation owner. I'm helping out a younger guy and showing him the ropes. And that's all I did, is I played the scene. And I played each scene and did the best I could. And when I saw the film, I was so completely shocked because my character, I totally forgot. This is so actorish. I totally forgot how much my character was involved in the plot of the actual film, and what a terrible person I was. It was really completely mortifying, and seeing the way people reacted to it. And I thought, God, I'm a part of something that is the beginning of Black Lives Matter. I'm the part of a film is about Black abolitionist Nat Turner, who fought and had the fortitude to fight up against people like my character, Joseph Randall, in 1831. I'm a part of the beginning of something that's much bigger than me, where it's going to show people what really might have happened. And I say might because we don't know exactly. We never know exactly how it went down. But Nate Parker did tremendous research with his writing partner, and they created this brilliant screenplay. And I was able to be a part of this piece of living art that's going to teach, that's going to touch your emotions, and that may change that where you sit in the room, even if you think you're really this liberal person like me. I got to see something, and I understand now white, heterosexual, Christian man privilege. and I understand
Right.
now.
Let's see it's more into that, yeah.
I understand all of that now. So I'm a part of something so much bigger than me. And this is what I want my life to be about, more than anything, is to be able to be involved with pieces of art that are presented to the world that make change. And then Belinda said something to me, I don't know if you remember, and I hold it very close to my heart. She said, you were one of the first people that I saw. Do you want to say it, or Belinda? You were.
Yeah. We were talking when we first started talking, and Jason was one of the first people that ever wanted to make me be a stand-up. Where I was like, I need to do that. I need to speak in that way. So yeah, so you were
But you
one
said
of my.
Something that really touched me. You said I saw myself.
Yes.
And that's what I want to be a part of. Is that, and I take that. Oh, Belinda, so humbly. Believe me, I'm humbled at your feet for that, because that's what I want. That's what I want to do. I want to open up the doors for other people to pay it forward. So we live in a diverse world of people, whether you be straight or gay, tall or thin, fat or regular normal size, or or skinny or white or Jewish or Muslim or whatever you are, whatever form you are, whoever you are, whatever you believe in, that there is a spot for you at the table. But people don't become so frustrated in life and want to set off bombs and act crazy,
Well, let's expand on that. So I have seen the trailer for Birth of a Nation, and as you just established, it won awards at Sundance. Pardon me, you're going to hear a sound real quick. I had to secretly switch phones, otherwise I was about to get kicked out of this call, and that wouldn't be cool.
I thought that was because we were so excited that I was actually in the trailer. I actually saw myself. I thought I'd maybe be in the trailer for a second. You could see my face somewhere, but I didn't think that I'd have a line, because I was so completely just moved by that, and I have a line in the trailer.
Where do we see you? Tell me in the trailer. Where do we see you do
in the
trailer?
It's probably in the first, I guess, 25 seconds.
Yeah, it's just like, when can we see the film? When does the film come out?
The film will open October 7th. October 7th of 2016 this year. We'll be opening around the country.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
that's going to be so exciting, dude. I'm so excited for you.
And so to put this, let's relate it to its historical context, and like you said, let's bring it full circle to Black Lives Matter. So it's a period drama about Mr. Turner, the slave who led a slave rebellion in Southampton County, Virginia. So it looks like he is taught to read so that he can study the Bible and become a preacher to fellow slaves. So why don't you give us your inside take on what the film is? What will audiences see in this film?
Well, I don't want to tell you a lot because I don't want to give away anything. The film is in 3 parts. About the life of Nat Turner. It's about his struggle with himself and with the white plantation community to be treated as an equal and to have his brethren treated as an equal. Also, he questions the Bible. He questions how the Bible is interpreted, and that's one of the most interesting parts of the film. And he also brings in his African roots and his African experience to the beginning of his life. And he grows up on a plantation that's owned by Armie Hammer's father and his mother, Penelope Ann Miller. And I don't want to give you too much because I don't want to ruin the story for you. But he is brought up on a plantation where they are treated, I hate to say this, they are treated as family in the worst way. So they're treated as second or third class family members. I mean, my character even has a when he's explaining to Armie how to treat the slaves, because the slaves are upset and not doing their work, because my character says, well, I cut them down to a meal a day per head. Now, a meal a day per head, that's insane. And my character this is how crazy he is. He is wondering why they are upset. So, and why they're unhappy that they have to sleep in a barn. I mean, on wood, on slabs of wood with hay. I mean, somebody said to me in an interview, said, "Are you a good plantation owner or a bad plantation?" I said, "I have slaves." I think that's where the good part ends.
Right. Yeah. There's no such thing as a good plantation. Like, well, they were. Yeah, that's what I get frustrated about, because if you go to the South.
it's going to start quite a conversation, because even the name of the film is the same name of a film that was made in 1915 that was the first feature film ever made. It was sort of epic, and it was about how great the Ku Klux Klan was. It was almost a commercial to join the Ku Klux Klan was almost ending in that time, and then that film created millions of people. Propaganda film, millions of people joined after that. It was really a terrible piece of art.
But if we compare this, if we take the stories
what it is it's taking back the title. It's saying this is the birth of our nation.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
When we look at the events of today, unfortunately, when we look at the Michael Browns and the Freddie Grays and the police injustice, lack of charges that has sort of given rise to the Black Rights Matter movement, which is an incredible, vibrant, powerful movement, does the film Birth of a Nation and the imagery that it evokes, does it strike a chord with Black Lives Matter? How do they relate?
I think it's the beginning. As I said before in the first question, I think it's the beginning of it. I think it's showing the history of where it is, and we do stand on the shoulders of our brethren. We stand on the shoulders of each other in life. And my father was in the Holocaust. He wasn't in the camps, but he was in the ghettos, and I think it changed the trajectory of who he was as a human being, and he brought it with him everywhere he went, no matter how hard he tried to let it go. And I think you bring that with you. You are who you are because of where your kinfolk come from.
For sure. Yeah, you are your history, for sure. I think that.
The poster for Birth of a Nation is a piece of living art. The second trailer, which is only around 50 seconds, is shows the poster coming alive. It's a piece of living art. People should go see it. You can see both of the trailers on IMDb. Look up IMDb and go to Birth of a Nation, or just go to my website, hit my IMDb, and you can hit Birth of a Nation on my page.
Now, you've, as we've established, had a long career in film and television, but it sounds like, and I'm just trying to wrap my head around it, as a professional experience and where this role in this film took you, is this it? Has this been the pinnacle?
So far, but it hasn't come out yet. So I really don't know. I'm sort of excited and chomping at the bit to experience the other people experiencing the film and hear what everybody has to say and read about it. I'm very, very excited.
I think it's going to be huge for you. I'm so excited because I really think it's going to be huge for you. I'm just so excited.
Thank you. I hope it's huge for Nate Parker. That's my heart. This is his
It's his directorial debut, isn't it? This is the first project, right?
And starring role, and co-produced, co-wrote. I mean, he is the man. And, when Joan Rivers said in her book, and I'll leave you with this because I've got to go soon. I'll leave you with this. Okay. Joan Rivers said in your book, you only need one person to stand behind you. She had Johnny Carson. Well, my person, Nate Parker, if I never spoke to him again or never saw him again, this man is in my heart, I get emotional when I talk about it, but, it's a long time for somebody like me, it's a long time to wait,
yes,
to be asked to sit at that, this kind of a table. And with these kind of people. And I've had a lot of wonderful opportunities. I work with some incredibly talented people, but this is really where my heart is more than anything, is doing something that is a political change, an emotional change to our country, political and emotional change to our country.
Yeah, absolutely.
Incredible.
Oh,
it's going to be phenomenal.
That's great.
I can't wait.
This is the question I was dying to ask Jason, especially for running out of time. So, as an out performer, and you're on the National LGBT Actors Committee for SAG, this is what I want to ask. The United States of America is coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the Supreme Court's landmark decision for same-sex marriage, as you know, in the case of Obergefell v. Hodges. But the country continues to see efforts at the state and every level attacking LGBT rights. transgender bathroom bills, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to get your personal take on this. Are we going backwards from 2015? Do we all have to fight the whole ground?
Getting us the right to be married nationally in this country was something that I didn't think that would come so fast and in my lifetime 15 years ago.
Right.
When that 15 or I think it was 17 years ago when those three couples in Hawaii, wanted to get their marriage license. I didn't think that it was not the agenda of the HRC, the human rights group that is our advocate for us in Washington. Yes. It was not the agenda of the gay community. It was the agenda of three couples, and it just sort of. I drove down the street very slowly, very steadily, and it's still driving down that street. And now we're on the street, and now we have our houses there. Now they are trying to take it away from us again.
Yeah, and and the thing is that it'll always be that way. I think it's going to be like a Roe versus Wade thing. We're going to constantly have to.
I think, Belinda, it's going to change. I think I have the hope that one day people will go, did this really happen?
Mm-hmm.
It's 10 steps up and it's 2 steps back. It's 10 steps up, it's 5 steps back. It's 2 steps up, it's 1 step back. It's the way it is. And, as my, my gay brothers and sisters said before me, we're queer, we're here, get used to it.
Yes. Well, and just ask you both from a Hollywood perspective, because Hollywood can help play a role in helping to transform our culture into acceptance, I think. And the point that I want to make there is that if you look at the amount of LGBT characters that have been integrated into regular television, some of it even, to be honest, a little bit racy, but now when you hear rumors that there may finally be gay or lesbian characters in Disney movies, Star Wars may surprise us. So if that becomes the norm, then doesn't that help establish the culture that we are your teachers, your doctors, the parking meter? So. We're the same as you, but with a different orientation. I think that is something that will evolve over time. Will hatred be there? Probably. But we've come so far, haven't we?
Very much so. And the motion picture and television industry has always been behind the times. Gay people were here and living out lives in the 70s. When we barely existed.
Oh, yeah, I have to say this because this is the funniest damn thing I'd ever heard. I had a straight guy comic, like yesterday or the day before or whatever. We were just talking about nothing. And he brought up trans people, and he was like, well, the trans thing is new. I'm like, what planet are you on, dude?
Well, maybe he meant
just because you're just hearing about it.
Yeah.
He's like, well, when did you meet your first trans person? I was like, I was 15. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, they've been around forever.
But I think trans people were to explain to people that, to his point of view more, and I'll play that. I was watching an interview recently on the internet with Katharine Hepburn, and she talks about wanting to be a boy as a child and thinking that she was a boy, and that's where she felt more comfortable. And she even had a little name that she called herself. I think it was Billy or something. So she had a nickname.
Oh, yeah, I remember reading about this.
And it's on the internet. Clive, a British journalist, interviewed her. And I thought that was terribly interesting and telling, that the form of transgender people or transvariant people or people who have an orientation that is neither male or female has been going around in our society forever.
It's Katharine Hepburn interviewed by Clive James in 1985. It's on YouTube.
Yeah, it's really
incredible.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
And
incredible,
if
because 1985 was before Reagan even uttered the word AIDS. So in 1985, this was just unheard of.
Well, he knew that there was AIDS. He was just ignoring it. Anyway, let's not get into that.
Nobody would ever equate that with transgenderism. I mean, nobody wouldn't, but it is a form of it. And you wonder whether if she were born as a young girl in 1985, whether she was born that year, and who she would be, if that's who she felt she was.
Jazz Jennings, supported by her family ever since age 6,
I was in a car in Los Angeles in the gay parade in 1995, and for the comedy special that I did on Comedy Central called Out There. And Leah Delaria walked by me. I'll never forget it. And she said, God, why did it take you so long to come out? And I looked at her and I said, I didn't know I had the choice.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And what did she say back? Because it's Leah Delaria and I know her, so.
It was out from the get-go. But on that
she was always like, she was born out. Like, that was it.
I must go because I have meetings and things.
Okay. But I
thank you so much for taking the time to interview me. And Belinda, it was just a joy to have you here with me.
Absolutely. Jason Stuart, let's just give the audience some real quick plug-a-rama. Where can they find you online, and what's your current gig?
JasonStewart.com, STUART. All things Jason Stewart. You can find there all my social media and my events. The next big gig I'm going to be on will be on June 25th. I will be at the Purple Room in Palm Springs, California. And then on June 16th, I will be on the Fox News show Red Eye, two comedians, two political people.
Oh, yeah.
And then
I know it.
on the 20th of June, I will be in New York City, and I will be at the benefit for Broadway Sings.
Hey, how long are you in New York?
Right.
I'm there from the 16th to the 20th.
Damn it! I'm in New York on the 30th of June until the 11th of July. I was like, we
so close, but so far away.
I know. It happens a lot.
Stuart, let's Zoom. Sir, it was such a pleasure to speak with you. Best wishes on Birth of a Nation. We will check in with you again around the premiere time, and thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Bye, sweetie.
Ta-ta.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Gay News Radio on the GNR Radio Network. Download our mobile app for iPhone and Android today. And have a good gay.